Hey everyone, how's it going? This is our second episode back since we had a really long hiatus. It was years long, just like all the best bands, rock and roll bands, right? They take long hiatuses,
Boy
right?
bands, yeah.
Boy bands, and Sync is back right now.
Yep. Backstreet
Uh,
Boys coming
oh, they're
back,
back.
yeah.
New Kids on the Block.
Mm.
Anyways, somehow we're better than all these
Oh
great
yeah.
bands of our generation. Um, yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the last video. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm sorry. I'm
What's
good.
wrong?
Sounds so formal. How are you
I know.
doing,
I forgot how to do this. Okay, I'm sorry. I
Forgive me,
shouldn't have said I
Father,
would
for
do.
I
Thank
have
you.
sinned. It's
No, that's not my role, man. That's not.
no,
All
I'm
right.
good. I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
I'm the week is over for me, so
It's
yeah,
over for
I'm
me
ready for the
also.
vacation. Awesome. Yeah.
Wait, you're going on vacation?
Kind of. We're going camping this weekend, so I'm looking
Dang.
forward to like a mental break.
Oh,
We're just going
Mr.
Carpinteria, so it's not that far. It's at the
That's fine.
beach. Like it'll be good.
Mr. Benedict option over here, huh? Just prepping yourself to.
Going out to the woods, off the grid. Yeah, that sounds nice. I saw.
Anyway.
I don't know if you've seen this, but it's like it's something stupid on Instagram. It was like JOMO. It's like the opposite of FOMO. It's joy of missing out. It's like I'd rather be isolated and intentionally miss most things. And I was like, you know what? I get that. That's a thing.
I think I get that too, but I think I'm also that annoying person where if I see somebody is doing something fun or like a group of friends is doing something, um,
Mhm.
I probably would opt out of it, out of exhaustion, but and be okay with that and be happy to do my own thing. But I would absolutely be butthurt if I wasn't invited.
Mm.
So it's
Kind of
like,
like my birthday, huh? Just
you know, so you lied when
thanks,
you said
Brett.
you weren't good, huh? When I asked you how you're doing.
No, it's just the first episode. You gave me a hard time for your birthday, so I just have to return that. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't get a
okay.
text, by the way, everybody. It's pretty messed up.
I meant to. I was sick. I was
You
sick.
could have
The
had
same
Chat
reason.
GPT remind you or something, man. Like,
Is Chat GPT on right now in our Zoom meeting?
yeah.
Is the
You want me to see
is
what
the
it comes up
Terminator
with?
gonna come through at some
I'm
point?
gonna hit catch me up. So yeah, we're trying out Zoom's built-in AI feature that summarizes what we've talked about. So let me
Okay.
see.
Oh, if I were to ask it a question, could it answer it for me, or is it like that?
Yeah, like you can ask it a question based on what we've talked about. It kind of gave me the
Oh,
same answer. I guess we haven't talked about too many exciting things, but
I have something I could ask it.
they said they briefly touched upon topics like heaven, marriage, and their frustration with sensationalism in the media. They also mentioned their upcoming camping trip and the concept of JOMO, joy of missing out. Wow, that's kind of creepy.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, you have a question for it?
Well, it could be a segue,
Okay.
but you're doing fine. Besides the fact that I missed your birthday and I apologized, and
Yeah,
you still held on.
I'm hanging in there, you know.
You gotta go retreat to the woods. That's how you'll feel better once that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you, what is heaven?
Mm. How specific
Mm,
do you want me to get?
I want you to like envision. Oh, I don't want to like make it sound like
Beatific
completely
vision?
subjective. Well, yeah, those are the answers that we would probably give.
Yeah.
But what does that translate to you,
Hmm.
like in your
Like, what do
head?
I picture? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of picture because I used to make fun of me being in love with C.S. Lewis. So
You used to make fun of you. You were so
you,
defensive
you,
when people. I was gonna say no. You didn't have that self awareness, Adam. We made fun of you.
you made No.
Oh, you'll be happy. I went on retreat last weekend and I
Yeah.
brought the space trilogy with me. So,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Nice. Are you reading it?
I'm trying. I'm also reading like Confessions again. It's been a long time,
Oof.
so it's
Okay.
going back and forth. Anyways, I'm sorry to distract.
Space Trilogy, Out of the Silent Planet. If anybody hasn't read it, that's
Hmm.
great. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
good.
because you might not know, I love C.S. Lewis, and
Hmm.
but the last one out of the or not out of the Silent Planet, the last battle.
Hmm.
Um, C.S. Lewis kind of describes like they're in heaven, and it's just like a constant journey, like further up and further into heaven, and
Hmm.
it's like everything is beautiful, and they're kind of like ascending this mountain that is like almost like it doesn't that doesn't stop, but then there is a point where it does stop, and they're like in a garden, and they're just like all their family and front, like everyone they want to see and love is like there, which maybe that's not theologically accurate, but like
It
it's just
can
like
be.
it's like this party, and there's this beauty, and they're just like they're with Aslan all the time,
Yeah.
and
Okay. That's
yeah,
cool.
they're like
Okay.
scaling waterfalls too, and like flying around and stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah, it just sounded awesome.
Okay. Does that okay? Yes, that's a good way of forming your own like interpretation of how heaven is. If I were to ask you, because we know heaven is real,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that the name of a book? I think that is. But
Yeah,
anyways,
and a movie.
that's when the kid sees heaven, right? Is that what it
Mm-hmm.
happened? Okay.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I haven't seen
me neither, because we're Catholic, right?
it.
Um,
We already know the answer. Yeah.
well, kind of, right? We know the answer, but it's hard to like. This is why works of fiction work well, right? It helps us to
Mm,
understand
yeah.
the mysteries of our faith a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my excuse for like watching movies and TV shows and reading books and stuff like that. It really does help me to form the mysterious aspects of our faith that we will once know fully. We
Mm-hmm.
will know fully at some point. If you were to like take a stab though with that
Mm-hmm.
with those influences that you expressed, what are some things in heaven that you would expect?
I'm gonna be able to fly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be able to move through matter, teleport.
Oh, what if the only matter in heaven is like other people's bodies, though? You know what I mean? Because we know that there's the
That'll be
resurrection of the body.
fun to mess with them.
Just be like
Oh, I'm gonna
Casper the
phase through
ghost all
you.
the.
Gonna phase through each other. I
That'll
mean,
never get old.
I think I'll be able to eat, but I won't
Okay.
be relying on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and I'm gonna know everything.
Yes.
There will be zero work
Hmm.
ever.
I love
It's gonna
that.
be. I won't even have to think, Brett. I will just know. I
Uh,
can't wait for that.
yeah, that is kind of nice. Okay,
Thinking is
and you would.
work. I won't have to do that. That's like I can't comprehend that.
Yeah, you're not going to be in charge of like feeding people and stuff. How wonderful.
No, you will know. I don't know. Sorry, I'm going off. But like, you will know
No, no, I like this. I
everything
like this.
about everybody
Yes.
without having to try. It'll just be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My theories are kind of fun, and I do believe it to be true. Where it's like, yeah, the Eucharist is a miracle within itself, right?
Mm.
We can't explain transubstantiation or anything. Um, but I think because of the great designer who is God, that there is like some like mathematic thing that makes it actually happen. You know, it's not just like breaking the norm of our senses. Like
Mm.
there's an intended way that God did it, and that stuff would make sense to us. Like, oh, like
Mm.
hyper science,
Yeah.
you know that.
Mm.
Okay, next question, right?
Yeah. Am I supposed to ask you back, or is that coming? I feel like
No, you don't have
feel
to
one
ask me
sided.
anything.
What do
I
you
honestly
think?
forgot everything we talked about in the last one. I remember it was fun, so I can't remember if we asked each other questions though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think everyone will be of the same mind when we're in heaven?
Like a hive mind,
Sure.
like in Wreck-It Ralph, when those bugs. No,
Yeah, that's a good example. That's a good example.
we'll just go towards the light. No, I think we maintain our individuality. Our personhood is
Hmm.
absolutely not even maintained, but like glorified, perfected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Theologically, I think we've been correct with everything, but there's nothing wrong with like the questions that aren't that we are unable to answer. Because I do think of flying when I think of heaven too, right? I think of bouncing from cloud to cloud and stuff like that.
Or
Right?
like planet to planet,
Oh
like
man, I haven't gotten that far. That sounds very Mormon of you. You know?
okay, but you know what? We can't be the only ones, right? That's a whole tangent. But like you're reading Atlas Island Planet, like there's gonna
Yeah.
be other otter like sentient beings or Sorns or those frog people. I don't know if you've gotten to that point, but
No, I haven't, but whatever.
like God's got to be so much more complex than we could imagine. So like creatures, I mean, even like angels, like what the heck is that gonna be like? You know, like
Mm,
to to interact with an angel or an angel that's been like guarding us for our entire lives. Like what?
yeah.
Like
And is the interaction with an angel like because souls are in heaven right now and they have interaction with
yeah,
uh with angels? How is it
without
going to be
bodies.
different with our glorified bodies and
Yeah,
the way we interact with angels in heaven? Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, this is cool stuff. This is exciting. This is why people create stuff, right?
yeah.
Like
I mean, yeah. Like
yeah.
fiction kind of makes sense. Like let's imagine it because it could be real.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's not like manifestation, it's not some like pagan ritual or anything. Like I think
mm-hmm,
God implanted this curiosity and
mm-hmm.
thank God we're blessed enough for us to attribute that to him because otherwise it would go wayward and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? Um so heaven generally though, besides like us type of nerds, right? It would be described in very childlike ways and I don't
Mm,
think there's anything wrong with that. Like I made fun of
yeah.
that the book, whatever, that heaven is real. I've never read it, but
Mm.
I assume the kid saw heaven and he saw like beautiful things and fun things. Um, and he was enthralled by it. And I think we would be similar
Maybe.
where I forget. I
We
don't know.
don't know.
It's all a lie. Just kidding. I have no
Well,
idea.
what
I
isn't
haven't read
wasn't
it.
one of those books like actually made up or something?
I
I'm not
I
saying it's
wouldn't
that
doubt
one,
it.
but I remember there was like some book like that,
Oh
and it was
yes, I
ended
do
up being
remember.
like fiction or something.
Yeah,
So I
and
don't know.
yeah, there are
I don't
people who
want
are
to.
kind of predatory with that type of stuff for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's why cults are around, you know. But yeah, the idea of heaven, like eating ice cream, jumping on
Mm,
clouds, being with all your loved ones, right?
hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And sometimes when we read like theological explanations of what heaven is and stuff, it feels bland, and that's our fault that it feels bland, by the way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
because we need to develop, is it C.S. Lewis that was like, we need an acquired taste of heaven and blah blah blah?
Mm.
That sounds like something he would say. Um, but it's true. We live our
Yeah.
life on Earth so that you know heaven
Yeah.
doesn't seem boring, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Like
yeah,
you
it's
read
very essence.
Revelation and you're
Yeah.
like, ooh, is this how it's gonna be? I don't know. I don't know if I'm down for that. Just gonna be
Well,
standing around an altar, like for eternity. It's like, oh,
I know.
it's a little scary. Yeah. But I agree. It's not scripture that's boring or heaven, it's us.
Right.
And we're,
Right.
you know, most likely not even understanding that, which we're not,
Sure.
most of the time.
And I think most people who have not had an interaction with God would definitely find it boring,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think they would struggle with the idea of like individuals being in heaven doing the same
Mm,
thing, right?
yeah.
They have difficulty grasping that the idea is that it's not a hive mind, right?
Mm,
That it's okay. So there's this show I watch. Okay. I watched this anime. I don't watch anime that often, to be honest with you, but when
mm,
I find one that I'm into, I get hooked. It's crazy to
mm.
me. But this one is called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Okay. Can I ask ChatGPT a question and it would answer? Would it be awkward if it doesn't?
This one, I mean, I can pull up normal chat GPT, but this one is just for our chat, like our conversation. But here, I'll
Oh,
I'll pull up actual chat GPT.
yeah. Can I ask him or her?
Him. Oh, great one.
Yeah. Ask ChatGPT what heaven is like. I'm interested.
What is
Is
heaven
this too
like?
stupid? I find
Did
this
I say like
incredibly fun.
according to who or just like in general?
Just do it. Just
It's
forget what
probably
is
going to give
heaven
me
like.
like a million answers, like
Oh, okay.
according to these people, according to that.
Okay. What is? Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
How else would you answer?
Either it's my internet or it's just taking a long time to think about it.
The Terminator
Um,
doesn't like it that we're
I
using
think
his
it's
tools.
the internet.
Do you have
Um,
Frontier Internet? Because I do, and it's been acting up the past week.
I have AT&T. Okay, I got
Oh, okay.
it. Like it's somehow better.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, it's do you want me to read it or
Are you quick enough to summarize it?
let me see. I mean, it basically says, oh, different cultures and religions have different beliefs, but most consider it to be blissful and idealized afterlife or state of existence beyond the physical realm.
Hmm.
And then monotheistic religions describe it as paradise where the righteous are rewarded for their good deeds in
Okay.
life. Wrong
Yeah,
already.
right. It's already wrong. It's a
I
good
mean, for
place all over
Christianity
again.
at least, but
Yeah.
or I
I think
guess
that's good
I
enough. I
would
think
I
that's
would
good
say
enough.
Catholicism. That's wrong. Some Christian,
Yes.
yeah, okay,
Mm.
yeah, go for
Okay. All right. Ask Chat GPT what. Let me remember what this is called. The human instrument. Okay. The human instrumentality project. Ask what that is. Or did it
it.
hear me?
Okay.
I don't even know.
Have you used Chat GPT?
No, because I'm afraid of it. No, I'm just kidding. I just haven't
You
had
sound
it.
you sound like a 45-year-old, and you're
Yeah,
like,
dude, it's gonna take over the
did
world. It's
did
gonna
it
take
hear
over.
me? Can you?
Yeah, dude. That Terminator's gonna come. What is it? Skynet. This is Skynet. No, I'm not really that parent. I just haven't had an opportunity to use it yet. It's like
Okay.
using a Ouija board. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Except the great spirits are Google and what that offers. Okay. The Human Instrumentality Project is a central plot element in the anime series
Oh,
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
okay.
Um,
You
let
don't
me see.
have to read it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I have a prompt here. Okay, I am my own Chat GPT, aka I have access to Wikipedia. Okay.
Very good. Very
All
good.
right. So in this show, this nerdy show,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say who the bad guys are in case anyone wants to watch it. I don't want to spoil it, but essentially the bad guys want this human instrumentality project to happen, and I'll explain to you what it is. Hold on. Um, they want humanity united as one being. It would create a transcendental or create transcendental abstract levels of existence where nobody existed singularly, but merely as part of a whole. In instrumentality, the flaws in every living being would be complemented by their strengths in others, thus erasing the insecurities in people's hearts. Okay. So in the
Hmm.
show, essentially what happens is everyone turns into this orange goo, and it's not just like little pockets of orange goo. Everyone turns into this orange goo, and
Huh.
humanity is now just this one orange goo. And it's not just like
Whoa.
the decomposition of their bodies and that stuff, and it turned into this goo. Like they
Yeah,
collectively turn into one sentient being.
that's
Um,
orange goo or
that is
made of
orange
orange goo.
goo. I think people would
Uh,
like it. Looks like Tang, except a little thicker. Like if you put a lot of Tang in a little bit of water, it kind of looks like that. And it
nice.
freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I
Yeah.
realized I like to watch things that freak me out and make me feel like crap. I don't know why, but I was watching it and I was just like, it was just jarring, right?
Hmm.
But if you think about it, yeah, the people who or the bad guys who wanted this were evil, but their intent was no more pain in the world, right? No more
Hmm.
pain, and the way we do that is that we turn everyone into one being. That's one collective thought, and so there's no arguments, there's no fight. It's
Hmm.
just peace, right?
Hmm.
And it was disturbing. It was really disturbing. The idea of, but isn't that weird? Like, it's obviously a terrible thing, but they
Yeah.
want to do it so people could feel better about themselves, so they could be at peace, so there's no more war and all
Hmm.
that stuff. Why
Hmm.
does it feel so bad
Hmm.
while it's something that we kind of want to attain in our lives? You know, peace,
Yeah.
contentment and stuff like that. Why do you think, even though it's
Hmm.
something that we really want, but the
Yeah.
execution of it, why do you feel like, yeah, I
Hmm.
guess I'm gonna ask you, I don't know if you want to answer it, but why do you
Yeah. Yeah.
think that it's so jarring and it's nothing but bad, even though it's something that we would want potentially?
Hmm. I mean, it sounds like we would lose like any sense of ourselves
Yeah.
in that. And like it would almost be denying that our insecurities have a role or a purpose.
Hmm.
Like it's like, oh, our suffering is just our suffering is meant to be just like erased.
Yeah.
And like
It's
that
a
kind of
it's a
sucks.
crutch. It's a crutch and only a crutch, right?
Yeah, like it's just kind of useless. Just get it out of
Hmm.
the way. And I think that kind of doesn't sit right with me in terms of just, I mean, being human. It's like you hope that even if you're suffering or trying hard, it means something.
Hmm.
And then like, yeah, like our faith has a theology of suffering
Hmm.
that like actually leads to hope and purpose. So I think it feels kind of bad from that perspective too.
Right. Do you think there's any pain or suffering in heaven?
No.
Okay. What's the difference? And I'm leading, okay? I do not
Okay.
believe
Okay.
this,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
What do you think the difference
Heresy.
between what these bad guys in this really nerdy show that I watch? What's the difference
Mm,
between that and the eternal contentment and peace and
mm,
harmony in heaven?
yeah. Um, I would say it's persons,
Hmm.
it's a relationship. So heaven is being with God
Hmm.
and like r- being with God in the sense, you know, the beatific vision is like you are face to face with God. You're in full relationship, full communion with God with absolutely no mediation, right? Like there's,
Right.
you don't even need cones in your eyeballs, like, or neurons to fully see God. Like there's nothing in between you and God. So it's like
That's cool.
full intimacy, perfect intimacy. Like it's perfect. And like, and then that person or those persons, right, three persons of the Trinity, also created you and
Hmm.
give like completely give you mission and purpose and identity and goodness and like our love.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're just orange goo, you got nothing, man. Like you might have bliss because you're just like done. You know, like
Yes.
you don't have insecurities if you're orange goo. You're just orange goo.
Right. 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 And I personally think it is jarring, and you talked about it because it takes away our individuality. And I think you were talking about it. Without our individuality, suffering doesn't make sense. Any pain doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Um, all that stuff. Again, one of the reasons why I bring this up is because I think those who have not heard the truth fully, or whether on their own accord or somebody
Mm-hmm.
explained it poorly,
Yeah.
they would imagine heaven is like the orange goo, where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, if because it may be too immature to think of bouncing from cloud to cloud or playing
Mm,
baseball in the clouds and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, they may think that's immature or something that they wouldn't desire. So why would heaven be
Mm,
that?
yeah.
Or they would think that heaven is just this eternal worship of God, and
Mm,
um and in their minds that means that everyone thinks exactly the same and everyone has the
mm-hmm.
same demeanor, and they just
Yeah.
they do turn into not a body of Christ but a goo of
Mm.
Christ. You know what I mean? An
Yeah.
orange goo of Christ. And um yeah, that's such a depressing thought to me. And again, this is
Yeah.
speculation. I haven't heard anyone really say that, but I could imagine if I went on a Reddit forum and asked them what heaven is like, they would find it incredibly boring and lacking any individual creativity.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think like the communion of saints, right? We have so many patrons of certain things. We have saints that we have strong devotions to individually, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they just appear that way to us when they penetrate to the earthly realms in our prayer. I think they're like that in heaven. The patron for whatever medicinal stuff, like, is still the patron of medicinal stuff in heaven. They don't change their
Mm-hmm.
form just to appear to us.
Yeah.
So that it's hard to grasp, but I think that is probably one of the more necessary things when it comes to the desire of heaven and what heaven is. You're there with like-minded individuals who are now
Mm,
all knowing, who know how to pray fully, who are basking in the presence of love itself, right?
yeah.
With
Yeah.
others that we love, but we're doing that as individuals.
Yeah.
And that might be one of the mysteries that we are talking about, but that
Mm,
sounds so good to me. The cop out, obviously, and these were considered the bad guys in the show, the people who wanted that.
mm,
So thank God I don't have to like, do quality control on that.
yeah.
But the cop out, the apathetic response,
Mm,
the lack of no good ending is the one that leads to the orange goo that is just
mm,
peace and harmony. So
mm,
I'm not an
yeah.
advocate for war. I'm not an advocate for like pursuing suffering and all that type of stuff, but
Mm,
I just think it's cool that in our faith that stuff has meaning and it continues to have meaning on an individual basis in the
mm,
heavens, and other people may understand it more, but
yeah.
you're not going to mold into Thomas Aquinas and everyone else is Thomas Aquinas. And that takes away, if we thought the other
Yeah.
way, that would take away from the beauty of the
Mm,
great designer that we believe in.
yeah. And you're gonna be more yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like I don't know. I'm like tempted not to say like your perfect self because that could be like, oh, then I'm just orange goo. It's like because
Yeah.
I'm just like part of this like system, but it's like no, like you're gonna be more of the individual that you are in
Yeah.
heaven,
Yeah.
but also be perfectly in union with the body of Christ,
Yes.
like simultaneously.
Yeah, it's a mystery. I
Mm-hmm.
think we could learn to understand this more and more though. Especially if I read about this more, I think I would understand it more and more.
Well,
Um
and I feel like we have to look at Genesis too, because
mhm,
it's like
mhm,
God's original plan for Adam and Eve. It included a lot of individuality and it included
mhm,
action. Like I think we could think like heaven is just us standing before, like if you look at Revelation and you take it literally, it's like,
mhm.
oh, I'm just going to be standing around worshiping God for eternity,
Yeah.
right? But but that's not what was happening in the garden. Like it like all the time. Like we
Right.
believe that Adam was given like a royal priest, and he's worshiping, right? And
Mhm,
he has roles, but they're also living in a garden, and he's tending to a garden. He's caring for
mhm.
animals. Now that's not heaven, but that was God's plan for humanity. That I don't think is like it was never divorced from heaven. Like God was there,
Yeah.
right? Like it wasn't like, oh, there's this huge rupture. It was like, no, this is
Mhm.
God's plan, and like this will eventually, like, and my understanding of the theology is like this creation in perfect union with God will like continue into heaven at some point, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
think it's not reckless to say um going to mass is a huge glimpse of heaven, right? We see a lot
yeah,
of pretty cool artwork depicting
yeah.
the triumphant, the militant, and the suffering and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Used to be
Um,
a big sloppy wet kiss,
that's what Father
advocate.
Tim would say. Yeah, we gotta get Father Tim on here again.
Yeah.
um, what was I? Oh, yeah, but that worship, right?
Mhm.
And I hope this doesn't sound like super 21st century or whatever, and who cares if it does, I guess. But the worship, the greatest worship that we participate in on Sundays, at the very
Mhm.
least, that's supposed to convoke some type of reaction outside of that, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
not like, sure, it would be nice at times, especially if you have the right temperament, that you're supposed to, stay in the church and worship at all times and stuff like that. But I don't think
Yeah.
the
Sure.
reaction that's expected from that isn't just like, now go tell the evil world about what you did so they could do this. Like, part of it is that, right?
Mhm.
But I think part of it is like, now do what you are energized, like glorify
Mm.
God,
Yeah.
like beyond this end. Like, this is the highest way you could do that, but
Yeah.
there are other ways to glorify God. So because of
Mm.
that, and I could be wrong, I don't know. They're like, that means heaven might have a glimpse of that too, where it's
Mm.
like, I'm in eternal worship with the God who loves me, and I'm present with Him. it doesn't have to look like that all the time, you know?
Hmm.
Like it
Yeah.
convokes something else. And in the heavens, it may convoke something that we can't even imagine, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not simply this is the one way that there
Hmm.
is worship, even though it is the greatest
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah. Cause yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's so hard to even guess what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
Like, I
That's
don't know.
exciting though, right? I think it's okay to be
It hurts my
excited.
brain a little bit, but it is
Yeah,
exciting.
because you're dumb. No,
I
just
am.
kidding.
And so are you.
Yeah,
When it
yeah,
comes to heaven, yeah, we're all pretty dumb. Like,
right.
but I like what you said about having that childlike, like, mindset of it, where it might feel silly even, or just like, but that awe and wonder
Hmm.
is probably the closest thing we could have to understanding heaven, like a childlike awe and wonder,
Hmm. Hmm. And
and the imagination of a child too. Like, yeah.
well, you bring that up, right? And yes, as fathers of children, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
not dogs, right, Adam? You've graduated from that.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
forgot about you used to make fun of me for having a dog, Brett.
no, not for having a dog. You know, whatever. We'll have a whole episode on that
For
later.
being a dog dad. You know
Yeah,
what?
that's
Dogs
exactly
need
that phrase.
dads, Brett.
Dude, you had a sticker on a magnet for your truck with
Do
that
you
on it.
think I chose that?
Yes. And I think you got a
Where was
magnet
that?
one.
Where was that sticker?
It was in the front and the back and the sides. It was like you were advertising something, you
Liar.
know?
Sticker was from my mother-in-law,
She's
and it was
great.
on the inside of the door.
Oh
So the
no.
only time you can see it is when you open the door.
And that's the thing that you're gonna see more for you. It was a good reminder of you. And you
That
put
should
it
be
on a
the
magnet so
thumb.
you
That
could
should
put
be
it
the
on multiple
thumbnail
cars.
for this.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Or maybe just orange goo, whatever, just a tang. Um, but
Mm,
as fathers, right?
yeah.
And again, being a father is another glimpse of what it's like, or
Mm,
who God is, right?
yeah.
I think we would feel terrible if we wanted our children to be carbon copies of each other.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
wouldn't that feel bad? Like,
Yeah, that'd
in
be
certain
weird.
ways, maybe it would feel good because, one kid listens better than the others right now. I'll tell you that.
Mm.
And sometimes I wish they would all listen in that same way. But do you know how heartbreaking it would be if they were all just the same? Like,
Yeah.
and they didn't come up with their own thoughts or create their own things. Like they could learn from each other for sure.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
imagine if they were just like one entity that was predictable
Yeah.
and like even good maybe, but like how
Hmm.
bland and boring and terrible that would be.
Yeah.
um
I
I
had that. This is kind of a tangent, but like, I, I have two daughters, and when we found out we were having a second girl, I was like, I can't imagine a not my oldest. Like my
yeah,
imagination was so
yeah,
limited. I'm
yeah,
like, wait, so I'm gonna have a daughter, but it's not gonna be this daughter. It's
yeah,
gonna be a different daughter that comes from us. And I was like, what is she gonna look like? Like she
yeah,
just has to look like her, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then she came out,
yeah.
she's like this totally different person. And I'm like, I'm still kind of like shocked by it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? How are you? How did I produce like how are you a different person? Like
Yeah, dude,
it
it
kind of
came from the
felt
same place,
yeah, it kind of
like
it kind of felt like, oh, this will be a carbon copy.
yeah,
Even though I know that's not true, but I was like, I
sure,
can't imagine something different.
yeah,
And yet I think like God obviously does that,
yeah.
and like can shock me with my own like reproductive
Yeah, I
abilities.
was gonna
Like
say with your own seed, you can't
like
even.
I just can't, I couldn't fathom like,
Yeah,
like what is she gonna look like? And then bam, like
yeah,
totally different person.
yeah.
It's crazy.
I
I don't know if you had that experience with your
uh
boys.
a little bit. I had a yeah, actually, yeah, I do have that sometimes. I'm constantly asking Brittany, like, hey, did Colby do this like Jonas does? Like,
Yeah.
did he react the same way? Did he like baseball as much as Colby does? Like trying to compare them. But there is beauty in the difference, and it's really fun to see the beauty in the difference. And like, in it may be a selfish way, but it's fun to see they're the way they interact with me differently, the way they show love differently. You know,
Yeah.
it's really good, and it doesn't feel complete or anything like that. But I don't know how it would be incredibly boring if they were all the same,
Yeah.
right? Even
And
in the way
getting
they praised me, and I get praised a lot because I deserve it, right?
wow.
I think it's beautiful, and I think that mirrors at least a little bit
Mhm.
how God created us. Like
Yeah.
we are
Really.
created to know, love, and serve. Um, and I'm not trying to be a relativist and say like any denomination, blah blah blah. But what I'm saying is like even within like the one true church and those who believe, that looks different for certain people
Yeah.
and completely truthful. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be, I don't know. It, it kind of wouldn't make sense to have just like carbon copies. Like, I mean, I don't know. We could go into that, but like, I mean, even twins are different, right? But like,
Sure, sure.
but at the same time, it's like God, I think, delights in our individuality, and He makes us, we're unique, uniquely made and
Yeah.
wonderfully made, and
Hmm.
yeah, like I don't know, it like almost like what would be the point of just like a carbon copy? I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking that through,
No, you're right. And
but
I
like,
think I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
no,
I'm new to
well,
this.
I'm gonna go to. I was gonna go on another tangent.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, that's why I don't like the multiverse theory. Like
Uh,
that is so like in all these comic
it
stuff.
makes me uncomfortable too.
Yeah. Like, cause who cares? Like, obviously, it's like a nihilism. Like, well, if there's another me in another
Hmm.
universe that's like perfectly happy, then just like, why not? Why live?
Yeah.
Like to some extent, right? But like the idea that God could create like an infinite number of me, and like, I mean, he's God, so he could uniquely care about me, but at the same time, like,
Hmm.
why an infinite number? I don't know. That just it doesn't sit well with me.
Well, even as a viewer, right? And
Yeah.
we are limited compared to God when it comes to compassion, right?
Yeah.
Um, I find it difficult to care about another multiverse character or the one that's outside of the universe that we have watched for what it was like a decade, right? If we're talking
Yeah.
Marvel stuff, right? It
Yeah.
it eventually happened where I would care about the other characters from other universes, but it really took me a while to like to do that. It hurt to go to care about someone that wasn't the one that I cared about for years. Or a good
Yeah.
example would be like I really did you see the latest Batman movie?
Yeah. With Robert
Okay.
Pattinson.
I freaking loved that movie. I thought it
Yeah.
was
That was
so
good.
good. But
Yeah.
my trepidation going in was like, this is another Batman. This is the fourth Batman
Mm,
in the fourth different universe in the X amount of years. I don't know if I'm going to be able to care about this Batman as
mm.
quickly as I would if it were like Christian Bale or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Luckily, the movie was really good and you
Yeah.
learn to love the character, but there's always that initial trepidation on my part, at least, where it's like, but I'm so attached to the one that I know that I
Hmm.
can't. I,
Yeah. I was worried about that too with Christian Bale.
yeah,
Like, can I really enjoy this?
sure.
Like Ben Affleck was easy to hate, honestly, because it was just like so bad in the other direction.
Those movies were so bad.
But yeah, Robert Pattinson, I was like, oof, this like it looks like they're trying to make it good. Like that could be a bigger disappointment, you know?
It was so good, though, man. It might be like top one or two Batmans for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
liked
it,
out. Yeah,
you liked
yeah,
it?
yeah. I like the film noir like aspect to it.
Oh
Like it
yeah,
felt like a detective story as well as a Batman
yeah.
story. Like I
Well,
was like, ooh, this is cool.
in the old comics, and even the newer ones, a lot of Batman comics are more detective-y than the
Mm,
movies that we've seen. So it was cool to
yeah,
see that they finally did that.
yeah.
Um,
But
but
going
okay,
back to the tangent from the tangent,
no,
the
no,
main topic.
I do think it's relatable though because
Yeah.
we're talking about our concern of caring for others beyond the ones that we put so much effort to care for, and you don't want to hear a new story and all that type of stuff.
Mm,
Um, and the multiverse theory is like. I don't know. I'm not smart enough, but it freaks
Well,
me out. But
yeah,
yeah, when we worry about that type of stuff, we relate God to ourselves a little too much, and we limit the idea and the unlimited compassion and the unlimited love that God has, and all that type
yeah,
of stuff, you know. And if we
yeah,
freak out and only imagine that if we are like one mind and one orange goo or something like that, that's the only way that God could love everybody at its fullest. I, I
hmm,
I think it's really hard for us to comprehend that God
yeah,
loves the beings that He created individually, creatively,
yeah,
uniquely. He loves them all infinitely, and that's just something that's really hard for us to grasp.
yeah. And I guess to recant what I was saying too, like if there is a multiverse, because it's not impossible, but if there's like another me in a different universe, that's
Hmm.
not me.
Yep.
Like
Yep. Yep.
that's
Yep.
a
Yep.
different, like just
Hmm.
based on our theology, that's a different soul.
Yeah.
That's a different person. Maybe they're my twin, right? Like twin, and they have slightly different circumstances to varying
Right.
degrees, but that's not me. So
Yeah.
God can uniquely design and create all of that,
Hmm.
all of us, but we're not the same person,
Yeah.
like at all.
I I think, and we do fall into this trap. This sounds like a weird like way to try to end this, or like non-catechized people don't understand this. But even when we think of heaven and we use our creativity to create stories or to
Mm-hmm.
watch stories for us to understand heaven, the fault that we have, and it's like the person who made this anime, I don't think they're Christian. In fact, I think it would be more of a criticism for like Buddhist spirituality or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, stuff like that. But when you separate God from the things, including like the important religious things, including heaven, then you tend to overthink it. You tend to forget about what like charity is. You forget about all that stuff. And it sounds stupid, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we imagine heaven, we forget that God is in heaven, you know?
Yeah, that's what makes heaven heaven.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
and just how, yeah, like my thoughts are not your thoughts. Like how above us God is.
Yeah.
Like I remember we went camping this summer up near Mammoth at Convict Lake. It's an
Oh,
interesting
okay.
name with an
Yeah.
interesting history, but I remember like going outside at night because it's like it really is out in the middle of nowhere, and like just looking at the stars and be like, whoa, like I can see the Milky Way, like I can see everything. It's cool. It's just like hurting my neck,
Yeah.
and I had no cell phone service. So I'd like when I did go into town, I'd be like, okay, I gotta look up some facts. And I remember like how many stars are actually in the sky,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like 200 sex trillion
Oh
is the
wow.
number. And I
Mhm.
forget. I think it's like that means like 200 billion trillion or something like that.
Oh wow.
And like each one of those stars could have like as many as one or like many planets around it,
Mhm.
right? Like what we're able to see. And obviously it's like okay, it's light years away, it's like time like difference, in like what we can see. We're looking at the past and all that, but it's just like okay, I can't understand 200 sex trillion stars, like
Mhm.
and then multiplying the planets, and it's like okay, there could be more creatures than that in heaven.
Oh,
Like we can't limit God.
yeah.
Even just with angels, it's like I
Yeah.
don't think we can even possibly fathom. Like even with what's observable in our universe, it's like we can't wrap our heads around actual creation, and yet God is not that, and is
Yeah.
and is more powerful and like more capable. And it's just like
Oh.
that is a like that is the definition of a mystery. Like we're trying as hard as we can and we can't understand.
Dude, I could go like just you saying that, I could probably list a bunch of things that just like I'm gonna say freak me out. I don't
Yeah,
know if that's the right way, but
it
like,
nauseates me. Like a part like
yeah.
oh, like I feel sick thinking
Well,
about how small we are sometimes.
or it's like how would an angel have the gall to reject God when like the evidence
you,
is right in front of them,
you
right?
already have the beatific vision.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to
That
understand.
freaks me out, man. But it also humbles me to know that like
Yeah.
our pursuit of this um is beautiful. You know, like people may talk trash about like a childlike depiction of heaven, um things, yeah, just that type of stuff, but
Yeah.
our imagination is supposed to be that. And I'm not saying that heaven is like a moldable like
Mhm.
whatever it is, right? But I
Yeah.
think the only mistake you could have is if you separate God from heaven. If you're
Hmm.
pondering heaven and there is no pondering God within that heaven, that's where the
Yeah.
mistakes are going to be made.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could say that about life too, whatever, but
Hmm.
I just think it's
Can't
hilarious that
separate.
there are so many depictions of heaven that have like no element of God, a loving God in it. And it's kind of
Yeah. Well, in scripture, I mean, the two kind of analogies that are used so often is father and son,
mhm,
right? And then, bride and bridegroom.
mhm, mhm,
And, you know, both of those, like even looking at the prodigal son,
mhm,
it's like, well, that parable describes like song and dance in the father's house and
mhm,
like feast and robes and ring, like it's like all very like things that sound great. It's like there's
mhm,
dancing.
mhm.
Um, and then yeah, with the nuptial, analogy, which it's not really an analogy. It's what's happening. It's like, well, what happens at a wedding? It's
Right.
like full full union, like
Mhm.
feast with all those who you love, full communion intimacy, like leading to the wedding night. It's like
Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff around weddings.
when it like clicked and the shame crumbled from
Mhm.
the barriers in my own conscience, the idea that the Eucharist is is so intimate, like a wedding would
Mhm.
be, and I don't want to get
Yeah.
into too many details.
Well, why not though? Because I mean,
I know that's the thing. That's the I just
we
said I
all
didn't have
know.
barriers, but like it is very akin to that, where
Hmm. We are the
two
bride,
in
the
one flesh,
church.
like that is intimate. And if you
Yeah.
and it's easily rejected if you're not ready for it, hopefully, right? Because
Yeah.
God isn't forceful, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
but it's easily rejected when you feel you're not ready for it. um yeah, we got to get ready for heaven, man, because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's like like other depictions of heaven with like 12 virgins or whatever like that. That's not what I'm talking about when I talk about
Yeah.
this intimacy. It is hyper beyond sexual nature stuff. Sexual
Yeah.
nature hints at the
Yeah.
intimacy of heaven,
Yeah.
right?
It's only a glimpse.
Oh god, this is crazy.
Yeah. So random story. My my freshman religion teacher,
Yeah.
um, who like really sparked my interest in faith. Like someone asked him, like again, these are like 13-year-old boys, like 14-year-old boys at an all boys school. And like someone asked him, like, hey, what's heaven like? And he was like he was like trying to get us under. He's like, imagine just like sex, like all the time, times 1,000. He's like, that isn't even like
Yeah.
close to what heaven will be like. It's that much bliss. Because like
Yeah.
he knew he's like 14-year-old boys,
Yeah.
like they're thinking about one thing.
No,
Guess
that's
what? Heaven is that
yeah.
times like a million. And
But
he
it's
got
like
our attention. Like it
yeah,
sounds
yeah, yeah.
cringy, like but
It
but like
is a little
but
bit,
we
but
but we were listening. We were like,
yeah,
oh, okay. Like, oh, and like that's not the only thing he said,
sure, sure. I
obviously,
hope
but
not,
like
because
that's
then
the
I
thing
don't
we
want
remember.
yeah, because I don't want I don't
No,
know what
he
am I don't
he
want it
was
to
great.
sound like sex is like an eternal like orgasm or something
Exactly.
like
That
that, right?
that's
It's
what
not
that's
that.
what he was saying. But he wasn't saying like it's only that, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
like it's not like that's physically what's happening, but he's
Sure.
saying that level of ecstasy
And intimacy.
and intimacy beyond what we could fathom as human, like
Yeah.
broken humans,
Yeah.
right? And he did explain that,
Okay,
right?
good. Thank
Like
God, because we
he
gotta
he
call
wasn't he
virtues.
wasn't just like he's like, yeah, it's just like sex forever,
You know what?
no,
Like when
it
you're
was great.
aroused, that feeling.
No, no,
Like
no,
it's
no,
like
no,
that for.
no, no, no. He's very solid, like
I believe it.
theologically, and
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
great job. And like really inspired me, like oh wow, I want to grow in my faith.
That's
So
good.
but I just
Yeah.
remember that and I was like
Mhm.
almost kind of grateful that he kind of framed it like that because I'm like, oh, I want to look forward to heaven.
Yeah.
Like that
No,
sounds
I'm glad he had the balls to
interesting.
do it because I really do think sometimes when I ponder it and I want to explain intimacy and stuff, I want to explain it in
Yeah.
that way, but it's not always appropriate to do that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
because like even this, we had a confirmation session, and I was talking about like God calls you to intimacy with Him, and like the class clown was like, "Ooh," and I was like, "No, you're not supposed to react like that. Just because I said
Gosh.
intimacy, it doesn't mean you know."
Here's what upsets me about that though, and this is a whole nother tangent, is like
Yeah.
how much crap is on the internet
Oh gosh.
that teenagers can look up in 2 seconds, right? And I'm not saying like this isn't a part of my experience, so I'm not saying with judgment, but I'm
Sure.
like, this is available to everybody. We can and we are exposed to like graphic stuff that we may or may not want to know about at the
Yeah.
time, but we can't talk about heaven
Yeah.
being like sex because like,
Yeah.
oh, that's too weird. It's like, do you know what kind of content people are watching
Yeah, I
or
know, right?
exposed to? But we
Yeah.
can't talk about perfect union with Christ in a sexual
Yeah.
way because that's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what's weird is all this stuff on the internet, like on porn sites and all that.
It's sad.
And that's the
It is sad.
distortion,
Oh, absolutely. I
This
think
is the
that's
real
the
thing.
100% perfect way to describe it. Because I get uncomfortable with it. You know what I mean? Like
Or
I
maybe
don't
we
know.
get comfortable with what people will think because
Yeah.
they don't know, they might not fully understand what we're made for. Like especially working with teens, right? It's like, hey, heaven's like perpetual orgasm, but on a personal, like spiritual level. It's like who's gonna be able to like we can't comprehend that, let alone like what do they think those words mean? How am I gonna
Yeah.
be judged for that? But when you go to mass and you receive the Eucharist, you are the bride, Jesus is the bridegroom, like he's entering into you and you become one.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm sorry, like
That's intimate. That is
that is
intimate.
that is the definition of intimacy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and that's what we're going to in heaven. But
I would have pushback, and maybe this for another episode. I would have
yeah,
pushback with the idea of it being the orgasmic element of it. But
hmm.
we laugh and stuff. But I think um, we could have
I
a
mean,
good
I'm kind of
discussion on this.
interested why though. Like, why
I don't think it's the.
are you saying like that's very specific to like a physical?
I think the act in itself, the uniting, um, brings about more mission than the orgasm does. I think the orgasm is a byproduct of the things. And so I think when we talk about like, yeah, we could do a whole episode of this. Okay.
Should I put this in the title? If this is what we're talking
Hell
about.
no. Like, I'm feeling weird
I'm
talking
kidding.
about this.
I'm
All
kidding.
my
I'm
kids are
totally kidding.
downstairs. Like,
I'm totally kidding.
um, no, I think we could have a discussion on this. And this isn't me like biting back, like, I think you're wrong. I
Yeah.
just want to like expand on it even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
I'd
talk
have to
about this
think
another
about
time.
it
I
more.
mean this. Like, let's do another
Yeah.
episode on intimacy.
No, I
Uh,
love that. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Because yeah, we can
Yeah,
wrap up.
and it
I
does.
guess I just want to. I'm still thinking it through. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna think out loud here, and I don't know if this
Okay.
makes sense, and then we can talk about it more. But what I've learned about the beatific vision is that the beatific vision is a vision, right? So we're seeing God
Yeah.
fully, no mediation, right? And seeing God is so great and fulfills everything that of who we are,
Mhm.
that the secondary nature or the secondary effect of that is that our will is completely satisfied.
Yeah.
We don't need to do anything because our will
Correct.
is always geared towards fulfillment. But
Yeah.
when we have the beatific vision, like our will is dissatisfied.
That's peace, right?
Yeah. So I'm wondering like the fruit of the fruit and mission, I would say, of orgasm is to bring new life, right? Like
That's the
or
fruit. Yes.
or like no, the fruit of the sexual act of the intimacy
Okay.
in the mission is new life, right?
Uh huh.
and unity, right? Both of those. It's not just procreative, it's unitive. But then that secondary experience is also the satisfaction of the will, which maybe could be that pleasure aspect that we're talking about.
Maybe, but I think maybe I need to read Love and Responsibility again.
Yeah, it's been a while since.
Yeah, right. Um,
Huh.
I don't think it's a dead act if one is unable to climax. That's what I'm trying to say. And so
Yeah.
I don't think it's like every venture of intimacy must. What I'm trying to say, the act in itself is unity, and that
Yeah.
there could be fruit from it that is this,
Mhm.
right? But I think people would argue that the act in itself is the satisfying thing as opposed to the climax.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I don't, that's why I don't like comparing it to just being like the climax over and over and over again, where the
Mhm.
the journey, what kind of stupid words can we use for this? All this type of stuff. It's within the
The
act
journey.
that people feel united.
Yeah. Well, I would agree because you can't separate out the unitive or the pleasure with the procreative mission of
Sure.
sexual intimacy. I guess what I'm saying is like if we're thinking of heaven as orgasmic,
Mhm.
it's not just like it's only orgasmic. Like or like
Okay,
that's all
that's
it
what I was
is.
thinking. So
No, yeah, yeah. No.
I
But I
think,
think
yeah,
the point is it's that ecstasy which is like the height of fulfillment, the height of joy, the height of like I'd say like even excitement, like
yeah,
fulfillment, which like yeah, we can experience that maybe physically in sexual intimacy.
maybe.
Well, I don't know. It's very hard to try to translate like an entire person like your whole person
Sure,
experiencing an ecstasy.
sure.
That's not drugs. Including your physical being because we're going to have glorified bodies comparing that to just like a physical ecstasy in a
Sure.
moment. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to I don't know understand that, but
You know, you know who wouldn't be able to do this though? Is one collective goo. One collective orange goo. Is that a
mm-hmm.
good way to type? But it,
I don't know. Are they feeling pretty ecstatic in that orange goose state? I don't know.
is it well then it would be limited in beauty then, right? It would be
Yeah,
limited
because
in
orange
beauty.
goose like not that beautiful even. So
Have you ever had a good
dang.
what is it? Tequila sunrise or those orange
Yeah, we tried them.
screwdriver? How about a nice
I don't
screwdriver?
know.
That's an
They
orange
don't
goo.
they don't bring about ecstasy though. So yeah, I don't know. They're
Speak.
good.
I don't know,
Okay,
dude.
we should. So next episode, intimacy.
Well, you wanted to talk about marriage anyways, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's like basically the same thing, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
That's
it works
perfect.
well. Wow,
Yeah.
this episode took a weird turn at the end.
Should I put like a little caption in the post that's like fast forward to like 53 minutes to hear Brett talk about orgasms?
It wasn't just me. You were the one who brought it up, and your teacher.
Yeah,
I,
but
I
since
mean, if
I'll
we had enough
post,
people, I would love to hear other people's thoughts on this, though.
but since
Because,
I'm gonna
like,
post on Instagram,
oh no,
I
dude,
have the power.
I was ready for like a thumbnail of like Tang or something like that, you know. But I gotta. No, but I am curious. I guess we have this on YouTube. Do you know if we're gonna get
Yeah,
this on podcast stuff? We'll figure that out later.
yeah,
But
yeah. We can do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But if you made it this far and you have any opinion on this, I would love to hear it because um yeah, I'm not fighting back like I think I absolutely disagree with you, but I think there's some nuance there that we could like expand on. I think
Yeah,
it'd be fun.
yeah, absolutely. Because it's not like a simple translation.
Nah.
Sex equals heaven. Like
Yeah.
no, 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 or even like yeah, climax. You'd be like, it's not. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I
I'm just
think
curious because I used the word intimacy once and people were like, "Ooh." You know, like when people hear the word orgasm when they hear this episode, like what are their reactions gonna be? Oh,
yeah,
this is so sad.
but just to maybe take any shame out of that, it's like
Mhm.
we're talking about a system that God created and
Okay.
physical bodies that God created.
Oh,
And so, like, because people could feel scandalized. Like you said, orgasm
yeah,
15 times in this episode. It's like, okay, but that was God's intention
yeah.
for this to be a part of this unitive procreative experience.
And
Like,
like we said, this is speculation, breaking open mystery. We're not claiming that heaven is like is like a sex party and stuff where you just feel bliss like that, right? But the idea of intimacy and the highest form of intimacy, how does that mirror God's existence and his relationship with us? Um,
yeah,
and that's something worth pondering,
yeah,
I think.
and that the marital act on Earth does reveal something about that, right?
Yes.
Even though it's not the whole picture. And
Well, I guess
so,
the next question before I close this, and we're not going to be able to answer it, but is there creation in heaven then?
no.
Right. So what is
Sabbath rest is what the catechism says.
okay.
Heaven is where all of creation comes to the Sabbath rest. So creation is done, in my understanding.
Okay. So mm, no, I
We'll
agree.
close it. We'll close it, and
No,
then
yeah, I agree
we
with
got a
that, but
lot
it's
of
like
good content. Yeah.
I have so many more questions now though.
Yeah. Are we done co-creating? What's our
That's what I'm saying.
role?
If the act mirrors
Yeah.
creation, but in heaven there's this eternal intimacy,
Mhm.
does that mean there's a lack of creation that was just destined for? Oh my, okay,
But yeah, but that would probably be limiting God or like what God has created.
right.
Right? Like sextrillion stars. Like, are we gonna get? Are we gonna be bored by that? Like, and that's only like what we can
Oh,
visibly see, which is very limited as humans.
well, you know
Because
what's sad? You said that, and it was like I have been bored by that before, though, and
mm,
that's just like human limitation completely,
yeah, that's
and
not heaven. Yeah,
and that's being orange goo. You know what I mean? Just
yeah,
not like
yeah,
reaching to, or not finding the beauty in all the things that God created on an individual basis. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
ugh,
Okay.
this was good. Did you guys just see me catch that fly? I'm sorry.
Let's see it.
I'm gonna put it down. No, we already talked about gross things. I don't want
Dad
to get into
reflexes.
it. Thanks for listening to this strange conversation. I don't think I honestly don't think there's anything scandalous about this, and
No.
I enjoy this quite a bit. If you have any input on this stuff, please, whether it's privately or in the comments, let us know. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
uh, we obviously like to talk to each other, but I think we're going to put a better effort into like having you guys join the conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
I would enjoy that. I don't know about you, but
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, what are the things we ask you to do? To like the video, click the thumbs up thing, and leave a comment if you'd like. You have anything to say before we leave, Adam? Anything
Mm-hmm.
else that's uncomfortable to speak about?
I did ask the AI, what did Brett say about
Oh
orgasms?
no, my God! Oh,
He
don't
said
read it. I don't want to hear about it. Wait, is it weird? No, I don't want to.
it's
Dude,
very
you trapped
professional.
me. I just realized you
It's,
just trapped me. That's what this episode is you trapping me to say uncomfortable things.
says Brett Becker mentioned that orgasms are not the only aspect of intimacy in heaven, and that the intimacy in heaven goes beyond sexual nature. Good for you, Brett. That's good. It's good to hear. Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
like this. I hate
Back
Chat
to what you were
GPT.
saying. Yeah, like and subscribe. Maybe this isn't the episode to share with people for the first time listening. To be honest, that's our bad, or maybe it is. I don't know, but God created us. It's good. Sexuality's good. Heaven's exciting to think about. So,
What's your opinion on Orange Goo, though? Good or bad?
it sounds sticky. I don't think
Uh-huh.
I'm down. No. I'm okay not being Orange Goo.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time if we don't get like in trouble. I don't know. I don't know who would get us in trouble. I don't know. If I get in trouble, just give me money so I can feed my kids. Okay. All right. See you guys later.